I will call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawaq, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Apitimiswak Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. We're going to move on to the adoption of the agenda. We do have one addition, E1, Staff Sergeant Delisle. So can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the August 19th, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as amended? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Chachka. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We're moving on to the minutes of the July 15th, 2025 regular meeting of council. And I understand there were some corrections to the minutes from administration. So we'll take a motion for amendment, to have a motion to accept the minutes as amended. Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings, but we do have Staff Sergeant Delisle here today that would like to speak. So come on up and turn on the microphone.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Thank you very much for having me. I just want to take a couple of minutes of your time today to basically thank you, and thank you for the relationship that we have with the RCMP, that you have with the RCMP, that the RCMP has with the town. I've been working here for almost 5 years. We've only got support from the town of Edson, and recently we got some RCMP, or I should say Edson Yellowhead RCMP challenge coin stamped or struck. And I would like to present a coin to every member of council as a token of our appreciation for the support and our great relationship that we have. So if I take a moment here just to talk about what challenge coins are. Basically, the history behind the challenge coin is it's somewhat shrouded in mystery. It's definitely linked with the military heritage. You can look back in history and see that the Roman Empire, when some soldiers did something of worth mentioning, of bravery and whatnot, they were sometimes given a brass coin with the insignia of their legion, and they would be wearing this on their armor as a sign of, basically a mark of honor. And then if we move forward in time, we saw the challenge coins reappearing during World War I. Basically, they were not mandated, or they were not part of officially recognized by the military, but some units and some squadrons were having those coins being struck and giving to their soldiers, members, pilots, as a sign of friendship, partnership, brotherhood, and whatnot. So there's a legend around the challenge coin, and basically it was during World War I. There was an affluent squadron leader that got some coins for his squadron, and basically gave a coin to every pilot. And during the war, one of this pilot was shut down and was captured by the German. So obviously you get stripped down of all your insignia, identification, and whatnot, but for some reason he kept his coin, and he was able to escape. He was then captured by the French, and without any insignia and whatnot, they thought he was a German spy. So as they discovered the coin, they were able to basically find out his identity with the crest that was on the coin, and that basically saved his life because they were about to execute him. So that's basically the legend behind the coin. So the Edson coin that we have, that we basically represent the area. So on the back, you have the RCMP crest, and on the front, what you see is basically Yellowhead County with the mountains in the back, some wilderness running in the field. And on the side there, we have our crime-fighting Eddie wearing a Stetson, basically kind of symbolizing the relationship between the town of Edson and the RCMP. So if you, with your permission, Mayor, I will approach every councillors and give you each Edson, Yellowhead County, RCMP Challenge Coin.
Do you want to do a picture too, or?
Yeah, we can do a quick picture afterwards. Absolutely, yes.
So I'll just call a 5-minute recess, and then we can do the picture if that works. All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Staff Sergeant Delisle, for that presentation. We do really appreciate the positive working relationship we have with the Edson Detachment.
Thank you. And just as a final word, well, basically now if you escape Edson, you have your coin, so you're safe if we catch you, right? And there's a modern tradition that comes with this. So now that you've been given like a coin, you need to make sure that you carry with it every time you attend any function that has a military heritage. All right, so for example, Remembrance Day at the Legion, because slamming the coin down on the bar is a call for action. All right, so if you don't have your medallion with you, that means that you're going to be buying the drink to the person that slams the coin on the bar. But if you do have it with you, the person slamming the coin gets to buy the drink. I like whiskey. Thank you very much.
I knew there was a catch. Thank you very much, Staff Sergeant Delisle. We are now going to move on to less exciting presentation. Sorry, Mr. Kitlitz. The first reading of bylaw number 2328 to amend Schedule B of the Land Use Bylaw 2296. Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since I'm less exciting, I've once again invited Kyle Miller, our planner, who is joining us virtually, who will be presenting this bylaw to council in support of this motion. Take it away, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, I am also less exciting than the staff sergeant, so apologies for that. I do have my screen sharing, so hopefully you can see the presentation.
Yeah, we're all good.
Up in front of you. We are here tonight to present or ask for a decision on first reading of proposed bylaw 2328, which is a redistricting bylaw that affects a portion of part of Lot 1, Block 8, Plan 5756 HW. As we've discussed a few times recently at recent council meetings, the land use bylaw was adopted by council in June of last year. And as a result of some, administrative amendments and then an additional redistricting application, that bylaw has now been amended twice. This would be the third amendment, so we'll all be old hat at this in no time at all. Amongst other things, the land use bylaw divides the municipality into land use districts, as is required by the Municipal Government Act. And currently, part of Lot 1, Block 8, Plan 5756 is within the R1-R Rural Residential District. I do have a map and an aerial image up for you on the next slide, but I do just want to note that the purpose of the R1R district is to allow for low density residential development comprising of primarily of single detached dwellings on larger lots with a semi-rural character, have minimal urban standards, and may provide various ancillary business operations. The land use designation R1R was assigned to this parcel based on the existing primary use of the parcel, and the redistricting application has been triggered by the landowner's desire to effect a subdivision and is required in order that appropriate land use districts are applied to the subsequently subdivided parcel and not have multiple land use districts applying to one parcel. So the proposed redistricting application was submitted by McElhaney Geomatics. The area affected by the redistricting, the parcel affected by the redistricting is outlined in red on both of those aerial images. And the proposed land use bylaw amendment will redistrict a portion of that Lot 1 to the C3 Highway Commercial District and an additional portion to the PS Public Service District. The purpose of the C3 district is to provide for vehicle-oriented commercial and light industrial development located along Highway 16. The purpose of the PS district is to provide and maintain for the development of institutional, education, and recreational uses in the community. The rationale for the proposed or the redistricting being the C3 district was to separate existing commercial development that is on Lot 1 from the residential use and enable consolidation and subdivision of this portion of Lot 1 with Lot 2 to the south. And the public service district is being proposed to accommodate the existing town of Edson utilities that service the existing developments. On the screen currently is I guess the existing, on the left-hand side is the existing land use districts that apply to the land and the surrounding parcels. And then on the right, you can see the larger Lot 1, which is outlined in a heavier black line. The cross-hatching in this eastern portion of the Lot 1 is being redistricted to the C3 district and will be subsequently subdivided and consolidated with the portion of Lot 2 to the south. And then the side hatching or the slash hatching in the middle there is proposed to be redistricted into the PS district. And as I said, there's existing municipal services in that area. And as a result of the proposed subdivision, they would be servicing multiple parcels. And so it was identified that in order that the town maintains access to those parcels and not result in cross-lot servicing issues, that portion be redistricted and will also be subdivided as a PUL or a public utility lot in the future with this upcoming subdivision application. It is the town's practice to have public utility lots in the PS district. So this is consistent with the town's existing practice. We have sent notice and notification of the proposed redistricting application to internal town departments as well as external referral agencies. There have been some questions that have been received back. However, we have not received any concerns or objections to date. As a result, should council have no questions or concerns, we are recommending that council give first reading to proposed bylaw 2328 and that further council consider testimony regarding proposed bylaw 2328 at a public hearing in accordance with the requirements of the Municipal Government Act. That concludes my presentation. Does council have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your presentation this evening. Council, do you have any questions for our presenter? Councillor Taylor.
No question for the presenter through the mayor, just to perhaps Mr. Kidlitz. If we do pass first reading tonight, obviously a public hearing will be needed. When is administration looking ahead to that public hearing if we pass first reading tonight? Just looking ahead that our next meeting schedules are September 2nd and October 28th. So just asking about that.
Thank you for the question through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Taylor. Yeah, it's interesting because I think I missed the fact that the second meeting in September wasn't going to be a regular council meeting, so we were hoping to bring it before the election. But given that meeting's been rescheduled to a budget meeting, we won't be able to do that. So we will save the public hearing until after the election. So as soon as possible. So ideally, I guess if the 28th is the first one, we try to target that for the public hearing. So.
Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Council, any further questions? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz. Further to Councillor Taylor's question, is there anything pressing on the landowner to get this done in a faster timeline?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So I haven't talked to the landowner, but to McElhinney representatives who applied on their behalf, and I talked to him earlier, I think in July, asking what the urgency was for the landowner, and he did reply that he'd like it done as soon as possible, and that I replied saying we'll do our best to get it done before the election. But post the decision from council tonight, we'll reach back out to the applicant, the landowner, to tell them that we won't be able to do that. So the sense I got from the representative of McElhinney is obviously they want it done as soon as possible, but I didn't get the sense that there was a critical, an offer to purchase or something that was in the way. But we'll certainly reach out tomorrow and confirm that.
Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Just further comment to that, if there is a urgency required here, could we not add a special council meeting to the Cal meeting that's coming up? I don't know if that meets the advertising requirements or not, but I would hate to have somebody tied up for virtually 2 months because we don't have a regular meeting of council, or at another date that would work. I think that's quite a long time to make somebody to wait for a public hearing, not to mention the fact that you may have several new members around this table that don't even know what a public hearing is. So, you know, I think those are the considerations that maybe we should think about and hopefully move this forward. Thoughts on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of the question about meeting our notification requirements, we would be able to for the Cal meeting. I think we could definitely meet that. We wouldn't be able to catch it for the September 2nd meeting if there was a wish of council to facilitate that. So it could be done, I guess, legislatively.
Council, what do you think about that? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to all of council, I would support doing a special meeting on the night of the Cal meeting, whatever, I don't know the official date of that. And just for clarification, if necessary, we could do public hearing that night, followed by second and third reading as well.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, then I'm certainly supportive of that.
Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Through the chair to administration and council, I'm also in support of that.
Councillor Pisichny.
I would support that as well.
Councillor Bevan.
I support it as well.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I support that.
All right. So I think you got some direction there. So with that, I will call the question. If somebody wants to make a motion on first reading, go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make the motion that council will give first reading to bylaw number 2328 to amend Schedule B of land use bylaw number 2296.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to check with Kyle. So we should have all the referrals back in time for the September 9th meeting. That'll be okay?
If you give me one second.
Just want to make sure we'll get
confirm that.
those. And secondly, while Kyle's looking for that, just so council's aware, there still is a chance at the public hearing, if there is opposition, that this could be delayed. You know, so just to be aware that's always a factor when it comes to a public hearing. So we'll do our best to accommodate, but that exists. So.
Just bringing up the notice here. The other thing I would mention too is that an option that can be presented to the landowner in order to continue moving the process forward is that we can suggest that subdivision application be made prior to the public hearing in order to help reduce some of the impacts of the timelines. And confirming with Mr. Kitlitz, we did request that agencies respond no later than the 29th of August. So we would be able to meet the legislative timelines, yes.
All right, thank you. And I would also suggest if the public hearing, if there's opposition, that obviously we can't do second and third reading without the people that were at the public hearing. So we may have to schedule an additional special council meeting to deal with that matter, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. See, that was way more exciting than you thought it was going to be.
It was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we need a motion to schedule the public hearing? Go ahead, Mr. Hawken.
Yes, I recommend that while we have you all here, we make a motion to schedule the special council meeting for September 9th for a public hearing, and I recommend 6 p.m.
All right. Can I get a motion, please, that we schedule a special council meeting for September 9th at 6 p.m. to deal with the public hearing for 2328. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I so move.
Thank you. And Scott will get it on the screen for us. All right, thank you, Ms. Scott, for that, and our communications team. Motion is before you that council schedule a special council meeting on September 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of a public hearing for bylaw number 2328 to amend Schedule B of Land Use Bylaw 2296. That was moved by Councillor Chachka. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We are going to move on to business items, the most anticipated financial statement of our time. We're going to hand things over to Denise McDonald, our Chief Financial Officer. She is leaving.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce my team. First of all, we have Kelsey Schmidt is our new municipal accountant. She's started with us recently. And Tyler Goebel is our finance manager. And with us tonight is also our auditor, Benji Wazer from MNP, and he is zoomed in to support any questions that you might have of him, as well as an in-camera session with council alone. So to start off, I'd like to say, on behalf of the Finance Department, I want to start by sincerely thanking council for your patience and continued support as we work through the completion of the 2024 audited financial statements. I recognize that this process has taken longer than expected, but it was a critical step in establishing a strong and reliable financial foundation for the municipality as we move forward. This has truly been a collaborative effort that reached across the entire organization. I want to acknowledge the support of council, the CAO, general managers, and all staff who contributed along the way. Of course, a special thank you goes to Benji Wazer from MNP and his audit team for their thorough work and professionalism throughout the audit. Most importantly, I want to express my deep appreciation to Tyler Goebel, our finance manager, and Kelsey Schmidt, our municipal accountant, and the incredible finance team. Their dedication, professionalism, and hard work were instrumental in reaching this major milestone. Thank you again for everyone involved. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together. Please note that there are hard copies of the updated draft 2024 audited financial statement have been provided to council for ease of reference during the discussion. As we go through the statements, highlighted changes in green indicate revisions from the original published agenda, and yellow highlights depict the area to be discussed. Oh, I also need to include Kelly Morris is a part of Benji Wazer's team from MNP, and she was the lead on the audit team. So the first item that was added is management letter of response. We're just going to put the audited statements up. And the first item we added from the agenda was a management letter of responsibility. It has been added to the audited financial statements. This letter outlines the respective roles of council and administration in the financial reporting process and reinforces the importance of transparency and accountability. It also confirms the auditor has been provided an opportunity to meet with council independently without administration present. This is scheduled to occur after the presentation of the drafts and the historical data information tonight. The next page that I want to bring to your attention is the consolidated statement of financial position. The financial assets have decreased by $2 million compared to 2023. 24 accounts receivable decreased by 5.4 million, and that's mostly due to the Yellowhead County paying their 2023 revenue sharing agreement in 2024. West Yellowhead Regional Waste Management Authority receivable of $900,000. While it appears on the consolidated statements, it's important to recognize that this amount is not truly collectible by the town of Edson. Under the liability section, the change from 23 to 24 is 2.5 million decrease. Deferred revenue is money we receive in advance of expenses occurring, and that deferred revenue has increased 1.2 million. There was considerable amount of reconciliation required to ensure that this amount is accurate. This is important to our grant authorities as they want to match up what we have recorded in our financials to what they have paid us. For instance, the YCE multiplex required reviewing the projects back to 2018 and restating the amounts, not only for our records, but to clarify the project for partners and grant authorities. Note 8 details what is included in that balance from 2023 year-end as restated to 2024 year-end. In the non-financial assets category, there's an increase of 7.3 with the following additions of tangible capital assets. Major additions include 2.7 million for the library, 1.55 million for the YCE multiplex, 2 million for 54th Street sanitary upgrade, 1.7 million for 10th Avenue sewer upgrade. The accumulated surplus change from 23 to 24 is $7.7 million. The next page is a consolidated statement of operation and accumulated surplus. Overall, our revenues have increased $942,000. User fees and sales increased $1.7 million due to receiving unbudgeted off-site levy and an unanticipated lagoon disposal fees and additional bulk water from development activities. Government transfers, while the actual decreased of $1.9 million from 2023, the actual was more than the budget, and the town budgets conservatively for the revenue sharing agreement. And the disaster recovery program grant was not included in the 2024 budget. For investment income, we were successful in locking in some good rates while the interest rates were fairly high. This contributed to the number increasing. Overall, our expenses have decreased 2.8 million. Protective services alone decreased 4.8 million, largely due to the expenses in 2023 being higher as a result of the 2.7 million disaster recovery program expenses, plus the additional 1.3 million for evacuation invoice for the city of Edmonton. For government transfers, the capital budget is high compared to budgeting in 2024, as 20 million was included in the budget for the ISIP grant for the YCE multiplex, which is the full amount of the grant that we will receive over multiple years, not just in 2024. So that budget could have been better reflected in a cash flow. The 1.5 million that is in the 2023 column is related to funds the towns received for Vision Park rehab. Overall, there's a change in the excess of revenue over expenses of 3.6 million between the years 24 and 23. On this page, we show the accumulated surplus before it was restated and the correction of errors amounting to 1.2 million to adjust the overall accumulated surplus for the year to what it should be stated. Note this matches the prior page change of 7.7 million. The next highlight is on the statement of cash flows. The repayment of long-term debt can be broken down into two items, 750,000 for debenture and 167 for lease payments expensed. Then if we go to the Schedule 1, Schedule 1 is a good summary of our changes in accumulated surplus for the year. Just to explain how this is set up, the first column is our operational activities. The second column is our reserves, and the third column is our tangible capital assets. These three areas determine our ending accumulated surplus. So you can see our excess in our operations that I spoke to earlier of 7.7 million. Then there are a netted allocation for a contribution from operations to reserves for 3.5 million. Next is the offsite levy from operations to a restricted reserve of 815,000. So you can see it's between the first column and the second column. Then there is 12.8 million from operations to purchase. 12.8 million from operations was utilized to purchase the tangible capital assets over the year. 5.4 million is our amortization expense, and even though it's not funded because we have reserves, I like to compare this amount to our overall net contribution to reserves that is showing on the bottom at 4.3 million. The result is 5.4 compared to 4.38 or 4.4 million, means that we are close if we were actually funding that amortization expense. And finally, our asset retirement obligation of 248,000. The Schedule 2 details our tangible capital assets into different categories. It also shows that we typically place our capital projects in a work in progress until completed, and then we move the almost 6.4 from work in progress to engineering structures. The major increase to buildings is mainly due to the library. However, some of this was set up in a prior year in 23 outside of our common practice for work in progress. Schedule 3, we have identified the non-residential tax incentive program listed in our taxation, and then we've also included a note to further detail that. Local improvement debentures were paid down in 2023, and therefore the expense was reduced in 2024. However, the budget wasn't actually adjusted to reflect that change. Schedule 4 details our government grant, and as mentioned earlier, there is a variance between the ISIP grant of 20 million versus the actual of 445,000. Schedule 5 is the detailed breakdown into our departments. Note that town has main pillars, tax-supported and self-supported departments. Noting that environmental is a self-supporting pillar, commonly referred to as utilities. So when you look at the bottom line, our taxation revenue generally comes in under general government, and it shows an overall surplus on the bottom that supports all the tax pillar departments that show a corresponding deficit. While the environment is supported by user fees, and the surplus supports its own reserve. I have highlighted the provision of a Schedule 6 is the next item. I've highlighted Schedule 6 is the detail of our expense that I have spoken to earlier, showing the total decrease of 2.8 million from 23 to 24. I've highlighted the provision for allowances. This includes grant in place of taxes where the province did not pay the full taxation amount, and 10,000 that was written down and approved by council. Note the budget is off due to one of the provincial GPOTs, or grant in place of taxes, was received in 24 for the 23 year. So when the budget was likely established for 2024, 23 actually paid amount was used as the reference to determine the budget versus what was expected for the year. Then if we go to our notes, we've done considerable amount of work on the accounting policies to improve clarity and transparency for the activities of the town of Edson, to make it more relevant to what we do here at the town. Note 3 shows our cash and temporary and cash and cash equivalents, and it includes 7.5 million for short-term investments. And you saw on our financial position that there was 7 million in long-term investments, supporting an overall investment total at December 31st at 14.5 million in investments. Note 5 is our accounts receivable note we spoke to, and here in the note you can see the detail that the major change is between the year falling under the trade and other receivables. Note 6 breaks down our tax receivable into current and arrears for better transparency. Note 8 details the deferred revenue we already spoke to. And it shows the beginning balance of the year as restated, the contributions received, recognized as revenue, and the balance at the end of the year. And these are the detail the provincial government and grant authorities will be looking for to make sure that what they have given us matches what we have in our financial statement. Note 10, in this draft, we have updated the numbers from 23 to 24 prior to the publishing of the agenda. We had 23 numbers listed in the green area. That's been updated now. Note 12 details our reserves into 3 categories: restricted, operating, and capital, noting the change between 23 and 24 is approximately 4.4 million. Note 13, we have changed the note disclosure from note 11 to note 9. Note 14, salary disclosure for the prior year needed to be restated to be comparable to the calculations for the benefit and allowance for 2024, and the note is now better worded. Note 17 details our partnership with the West Yellowhead Regional Waste Management Authority for transparency. And note 19 is a new note that discloses our contingencies for the year. Again, this is to provide transparency to the reader of the statements. Note 12 is a new disclosure introduced this year to enhance transparency around our commitments. It highlights Council's financial support for the Edson Medical Center, as well as key funding and grants provided to local nonprofit organizations. Please note that this is not an exhaustive list. It focuses on the most significant contributions. Also included is information on our non-residential tax incentive program. Since these are consolidated statements, it also includes the multi-year agreement entered into by the West Yellowhead Regional Waste Management Authority for a 3-year agreement. Note 23, we updated the reference from Schedule 6 to Schedule 5. And note 26 identifies the reasons for restatement and related details for, first of all, the YCE Multiplex project, the Disaster Recovery Program, ISIP grant, the Library CFIP grant, Airport Hangar, the Lions Park Bridge demolition, the 23 wildfire evacuation invoice, land held for resale, as well as the restatement of salary and benefits. Finally, the restatements are summarized showing the original amount, the restated amount, the corrected amount, which matches 1.2 mentioned earlier from the statement of operations and the accumulated surplus. These statements will effectively create a basis for financial reporting that will not only support annual reporting going forward, but will also support our quarterly reporting to make the town's reports more consistent, not only for ourselves, but also when comparing to other municipalities. With that, I'll pass the table back to the mayor if you have any questions on the audited financial statements.
Thank you very much, Ms. McDonald, for your presentation. To yourself, Mr. Global, the rest of the team, and MNP for your tremendous work. As you look through the documents, had to go back to 2005 in some cases, so It's been an incredible amount of work that your team has done, and it is greatly appreciated, so we can have full confidence in our fiscal foundation. Does the auditor want to present or speak to anything in this presentation?
Well, I don't have anything to add to the financial statements, but I do have our audit findings document, which I can go through.
Is that a closed session item or is that a public item?
I guess that would be up to you. I can do it either way.
Ms. McDonald, do you want to?
I would prefer that be in a closed session with council alone.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. McDonald or the auditors at this point? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I know this may not have any bearing on the report, but there was mention of asbestos in there for buildings. What is there any concern about radon gas?
I don't know how that pertains to the financial statements.
Okay.
So I think that's a.
Yeah, I'll withdraw that. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Moore. Anybody else? Any questions? Sorry. Council, any other questions, comments about the audited financials? No? All right. So my question, just to administration, Ms. McDonald, obviously there have been some changes since the agenda package came out. So once they're approved, can we ensure that only one set of this document is on our website? Because I'm a little concerned that there might be two documents floating around and then the wrong document might get referenced to. So the correct document will be posted online, right?
Yes, tonight, once council has approved the documents, it will be signed, and the signed copy without the draft across it will end up on our website.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the mayor to administration. Thank you very much for this report. I did not even fall asleep once while I was reading it. So, my question was just, you kind of mentioned it. It was on the environmental, page 9, on Schedule 5, the utilities that are self-supporting environmental, and the 1.6 million that would be going to reserve. So that is the money that is over and above what we had spent, and that will go to the reserves for our pipes and sewer, all the underground stuff, not the roads itself, but underground.
That's correct. Thank you for the question, Councillor Chachka. Any surplus in the utilities area or environmental goes to their specific reserves. It will be broken down in detail between water, sewer, and garbage, but it will go to their area.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any further? Thank you. Any questions, comments? I'm a little rusty. It's been a little while. If not, are we moving into close now, or do you want to accept, or do you want to go into your presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we could move on to the historical data, we can do that presentation, and then you can make all the motions after that.
Okay,
Is that feasible?
sounds good. Go ahead, Ms. McDonald.
Thanks again for the floor. This presentation offers a visual summary of the municipality's financial data over the past 5 years, providing council with a clear perspective of our financial trends and performance. As part of our commitment to continuous improvement, significant enhancements were made to the 2024 audited financial statements, including restatements to prior years. These improvements have not been retroactively applied to earlier years in this particular data presentation. As a result, some inconsistencies or errors may be present in the historical data. This information is not audited. Despite these limitations, the information still remains valuable in illustrating our financial history and supporting informed decision-making. We appreciate council's understanding and ongoing support as we continue to strengthen our financial reporting and transparency. So the first slide is our education mill rate. It's increased 4% for non-residential properties, 1% for residential properties for the mill rate itself. The total education dollar requisition amount decreased by 1%. So the dollars, the rate increased, but the education requisition actually decreased by 1% over that time frame. The mill rate is influenced by both the requisition amount and property assessments. So as assessment values change, the mill rate adjusts to meet the requisition target. The next page is our municipal mill rate. Non-residential municipal mill rate over the 5-year period from 2020 to 2024, the non-residential municipal mill rate increased from 13.0712 to 15.7792. Between 19 and 20, there was a 6% decrease from the previous year. It's not shown on this data, but it influences the data. A 14% recovery followed that year in 2021 in order to bring it back into line. The rate then stabilized with a modest increase of 2% in 2022, 4% in 23, 0% in 2024. Residential municipal mill rate appears more gradual over the same 5-year period. Annual increases were steady, 3% in 2020, 6% in 21, 4% in 22, 7% in 23, and 2% in 24. Municipal Affairs provides financial indicator graphs that track changes within a single municipality over time. These graphs also offer benchmarking by comparing the municipality's data to minimum, median, and maximum values for similar municipal types. The shaded gray area on the graph represents the range for all towns in Alberta. The data is currently to 2023. This tool offers valuable insight for us. While the town of Edson ranks above the median for net municipal property tax per capita, the trend line is relatively stable with a dip in 2020, followed by gradual recovery in the subsequent years. This slide presents a total combined municipal mill rate for both residential and non-residential properties over the 5-year period. To explain the graph, the mill rate is on the left axis and the change percentage is on the right axis and relates to the line. The non-residential mill rate increased by approximately 14.6% from 2020 to 2024, and the residential mill rate rose about 12% over the same period. These changes are largely driven by the decrease in 2020, which required a 14% increase in 21 to recover for non-residential and 6% for residential to maintain the revenue levels. It's important to remember that the total mill rate is a determination of 2 key factors. 1, the municipality's tax requirement, including tax requisitions for education and senior housing, and 2, the total assessed value for properties to which the rate is applied. The next slide will explain this relationship in more detail. The 5-year taxable assessment is based on assessment reflected in the annual tax rate bylaw. The residential assessment has increased only 2% over the 5 years. The non-residential has increased 15% over the same frame. Overall, the total assessment has increased 6% over the 5-year period. The change in assessment between 19 and 20, that's not on this graph, was a 3% decrease. Between 20 and 21, there was a further 3% decrease before the assessment started to recover. This illustrates the reason for the rate fluctuations in those first 2 years. Residential properties contribute, you look at the insert on the right-hand side, the residential properties contribute to 66% and non-residential properties contribute to 34% of our total assessment. The next slide is our total property taxes levy. All figures here are presented in thousands for clarity and visual consistency. This means we've removed the last 3 zeros from each value to allow for a larger, more readable font in the presentation. Displaying full values will require a much smaller font, making the data harder to interpret. Over the 5-year period, the total property tax dollars levied, which is the green line, decreased from 19.4 million to 17.8 million, a reduction of approximately 8%, or an average annual decrease of 1.6%. Municipal taxes, the gray column, declined by 1.7 million, from 15 million to 13.4 million, representing a 12% decrease. Education taxes saw a modest 1% decrease, averaging 0.2% over the years. Evergreen's foundation taxes increased 128,000, a 22% increase over the period. As shown in the insert, municipal taxes make up roughly 75% of the total property tax levy. Education taxes account for 21%, and senior housing 4%. When we look at our revenues, particularly user fees, sales of goods, and franchise and concession fees, on the left, we will see the town of Edson's actual data over the past 5 years. On the right, we have comparative data, but by per capita from Municipal Affairs 2023 Data Bank. User fees and sales of goods include utility revenue, user fees from town-owned facilities, and sale of land. Over the 5-year period, this category increased by 2.6 million. It's worth noting some shifts in reporting between revenue categories may have occurred, but these have not yet been investigated. The one we are aware of is the off-site levies have been, in 2024, were recorded in user fees where they should have been recorded elsewhere. And so if we remove that 800,000, you could see that 22, 23, and 24 are more horizontal instead of climbing up. Franchise and concession fees include revenues from our franchise agreements for power and natural gas. As a result, in the financial statement notes, as outlined in the financial statement notes, these fees increased by 164,000 or 18%. But as shown in the graph, the trend has remained fairly flat and below the median for the last 3 years. It's important to examine both our historical data and how it compares to other municipalities for benchmarking purposes. Municipal affairs data shows that the town of Edson's net sales and user charges per capita have historically been below the median. So while our revenues in this category have increased, the per capita figures remain reasonable. Also note the fluctuations in the top range, the gray area, particularly 21 and 23, where there are spikes. In contrast, both the median and the town of Edson's trend line have remained fairly stable in that time frame. Our revenue sources, this slide illustrates the composition of the town's major revenue sources and how they've evolved from 2020 to 2024. Total revenue has increased from 28.8 million to 38.9 million, reflecting growth across the several categories. The chart uses color coding to show the breakdown. The green is the net municipal property taxes. Gray is our user fees and sale of goods. Dark blue is federal and provincial grants. Light blue is federal and provincial, and the dark blue is contributions from other local governments and boards. Light gray is our other revenue sources, includes a variety of the remaining revenue items such as penalties and fines, licenses and permits, franchise and concession fees, return on investments, rentals, development fees, and others. The next slide is our government grants. This slide includes both operating and capital grants. The top green line represents contributions from other local governments, which are our largest source in this category and is primarily due to revenue sharing agreement and cost sharing arrangements with the Yellowhead County. Provincial grants include funding such as the Disaster Recovery Program, which paid out 50% of estimated costs in 2023. Federal conditional grants cover funding for protective services, investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, the ICIP grant for the YCE multiplex, and Canada Community Building Fund, CCBF. Although CCBF is a federal grant, it's likely recorded in provincial, overstating the provincial amount. And that is because it's administered by the province and is often confused that it's a federal grant instead of a provincial grant. It's important to know that grant restatements were identified during the audit, but these adjustments were not reflected in the prior year. Nonetheless, the data provides a valuable snapshot of how grant revenue has increased to support municipal activities. Our major expenses, on the left is the town's actual data, on the right is the per capita comparative data. For most municipalities, the three largest operational expense categories are these areas: salary, wages, and employer benefits. This category has shown a steady increase over time, and it includes negotiated costs for the CUPE collective agreement, which is set to expire in 2026. On the comparative chart, Edson is slightly above the median, but still well within the reasonable range shown in gray. Contracted and general services, this includes all our contracted services, including the policing agreement. The spike in 2023 is attributed to the disaster recovery efforts. Per capita, Edson spending is close to the median with a similar increase in 2023. Materials, goods, and utilities, this category has seen an average annual increase of 5.6%. The carbon tax introduced in 2019 and increased annually until its removal in 2025 has contributed to this upward trend. As noted in 2023, also note in 2023, a large portion of the capital project costs were expensed in the financial statements rather than being capitalized as assets. This impacts both the contracted services and materials and goods expense category. When we look at our TCA, the green line shows our historical cost of our assets. The blue line is our total asset net book value. That means less accumulated amortization. The gray line is our annual amortization. The reserves here stated are a combination of the unrestricted plus the restricted. In 2024, we introduced a new reserve policy. In 2025, we budgeted for 2.5% of operating expenses to be contributed to reserve and 6% to the capital reserves. Note we have $38.4 million in reserves to support the replacement of $227 million of historical cost of assets. That's 17% in our reserves to replace that value, and the future replacement costs will be significantly more. When we look at our accumulated surplus, on the left is our actual data, and on the right is municipal affairs comparative data. Accumulated surplus occurs when municipalities' assets exceed its liabilities. It can be categorized as follows. The blue line is the unrestricted surplus, representing the annual increase of revenue and expenses by year. Note in 2023, there was $5.1 million. I've included it in the graph on the bottom so that you can see the detailed numbers, which was a result of adjustments in Note in 2023, there was 5.1 million, which resulted in an adjustment in 24 to contribute move money from accumulated surplus over to reserves as part of the reserve policy. That results in the deficit shown here in 2024. The green area is the reserves include restricted and unrestricted surpluses set aside for future purposes. And the gray is the equity in TCA is the net book value of assets less long-term debt and retirement obligations. That's asset retirement obligations. The provincial net accumulated surplus per capita shows us positively above the median and increasing the last 3 years according to, in comparison to other municipalities' median. When we look at our long-term debt, we've graphed it over time. Debt limit is increasing as our revenue increases. Since it's calculated at 1.5 times revenue, it has increased approximately 24% over the last 5 years. So the lines on the graph are measured on the right axis with the percentages. So the red line indicates the 75% limit that will require additional financial analysis to support borrowing above that limit. Yet the blue line is our percentage use. Therefore, as we pay down debt, you can see that it's declining over the time frame. On the right is our debt service limit. It's calculated at 0.25 times revenue and is shown in green. This is the money available to service our debt. Our debt service costs are shown in blue and is approximately 21% of our debt service limit. Finally, the slide from Provincial Data Bank compares our long-term debt per capita. You can see that by 2023, we are at the median. In the future, we anticipate borrowing for the fire truck and a portion of the YCE multiplex and Township Road 532. With that, I open the floor to questions from Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald, for that very thorough presentation. We appreciate it. Lots of data to consider. Council, do you have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the mayor to administration. I don't have a question, but I really did enjoy reading through all that historical data. I felt very helpful to offer perspective to see where we stand compared to other comparable Alberta municipalities that just aren't kind of handpicked, and then sometimes we argue about why did you pick that town and not this town, and it kind of eliminates that bias or perceived bias, I should say, and now we can just see where we stand compared to the highs and the lows. There's one municipality that didn't have any taxes. I'm quite curious how that worked out for them. At least that's how I interpreted it, and then where we are amongst the average as well. So I really appreciate all the effort that went into that. So it was really helpful.
That municipality may be amalgamated with another municipality. Yes, we've had a few of those. Council, any further questions or comments? Just on the data that you provided there, and I thank you for highlighting that the spikes are, you have to look at the 2019 to 2020 when council gave a 5% tax decrease to this community. So in light of what was going on at that time. So obviously there was a 5% catch up that needed just to keep things even without even accounting for inflation. So I appreciate you recognizing that fact in the data as well. So with that, we will take some motions from the floor, please, council. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move that council approve the audited consolidated financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024 as presented.
All right, any debate on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get a motion number 2, please? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Make the motion that council accept the historical financial data 2020 to 2024 as information.
That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get the third motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that the meeting move into a closed session pursuant to Section 281 of the Municipal Government Act, MGA, in accordance with the Access to Information Act, Section 30.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. We will return to open session. Thanks for your patience as we talked with the auditor. So just coming out of closed, I'll hand things over to our auditor to make some final comments. So please go ahead.
Perfect. So just a quick summary. There was a clean audit opinion on those financial statements. So that's the gold standard. That's what you want to see. As Denise mentioned in her presentation, there were a number of prior period adjustments. I did just want to make note that the vast majority of those adjustments were brought to us as auditors from your management team. It's not like we came in from outside looking in and picking apart things that were wrong. They're things that your management team found. And it did add, some complexity and time to completing the audit, which is why we're here in August rather than in April. But kudos to your team to be very detail oriented and find those issues and try to rectify things from going way back so that, everything looks much better going forward. So thanks for all the hard work for the team helping us get through this audit.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Benji, for your presentation and all your hard work and your team's hard work on this as well. A lot of legacy items that you guys had to deal with, so appreciate that. And a big thank you to Ms. McDonald, Mr. Goebel, and the rest of the finance team. Thank you very much. With that, we'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your evening.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald, not quite done yet. You have another item for us this evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you is a bookkeeping item. Basically, Municipal Affairs is conducting a routine audit of the town's tax and assessment process. One of the discoveries was that the motion to appoint Compass Assessment should have been in the name of the individual, not the company. And so the auditor is requesting that we put forward a motion and appoint Aaron Steblick as an individual for our designated officer. So I'll pass it back to council to make the motion.
All right, thank you. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So if there is no questions or comments, we'll take a motion. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move that council rescind resolution number 219-2023.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get the second motion, please? Go ahead.
I move that,
Oh, did we rescind? Did we do the? Yeah, okay. And the second motion? Go ahead.
thank you, that council appoint Aaron Steblick of Compass Assessment Consultants Incorporated as a Town of Edson's assessor effective October 3rd, 2023 and expiring June 30th, 2026.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And we are going to move on to the 2026 Budget Engagement Report. Go ahead, Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to welcome Ben Prue, President of Catalyst Communications, who has been leading the public engagement process for the 2025 municipal budget, 2026 municipal budget. Ben will now present the budget engagement report summarizing the feedback received from the residents and stakeholders and highlighting key themes that emerged throughout the consultation process. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this evening and to be able to walk through some of the high-level trends and key findings that we had coming out of this engagement process. This was the first year that we've undertaken this with Edson, and so it was nice to dive in and go through the different areas and different engagement methods that we employed. This is kind of what we do. For those of you that don't know us, that we only work with local government, and so yours was one of over a dozen budget engagement processes that we undertook this year, with budget engagement often being combined with public satisfaction surveying, which is something that we did implement for the town this year as a bit of a different approach to be able to explore other areas in alignment with some of the opinions and feedback around budgeting and municipal services. So we decided to take a broader approach this year. In the past, it was mainly survey focused, which still held the majority role in our participation for this year, but we added in open houses and focus groups as well to be able to gather more qualitative insights from members of the public, in addition to the heavier quantitative results that you get from a survey. So it gives us a bit more of a well-rounded understanding of public opinion and allows us to dive into some of the different areas at a deeper level. We were able to secure participation from 271 residents, which is considered statistically valid by a decent margin, and with a margin of error of minus 5%, which is in line with best practice. Now, on this one, was really incumbent upon us to find a way to engage more residents and to find a way to get some of those more qualitative elements as we discussed. And so that's why we looked at different methods to get out to the community. And so the open houses unfortunately fell on evenings that there was Oilers playoff games in the final round, which definitely hurt our attendance, and hopefully we would see a higher level in future years, but we were able to get over 20 residents out, which was nice to be able to have those conversations. And then we held 3 focus groups with members of youth council, with nonprofit leaders from throughout the community, as well as with business owners to gain a few different perspectives on a number of issues related to service delivery, relationships with the town, and everything that kind of goes along with each. This helps provide a better rounded view of that public opinion. Surveys are incredibly valuable when it comes to budget engagement and public satisfaction surveying. That said, they do tend to skew negative. That's across the board. It's not specific to Edson. Because surveys are opt-in, people fill them out as they're going throughout their day. Typically, there's a reason that they go onto their computer or their phone and say, I'm going to take this survey. Normally, it's because they have a strong opinion on one topic or another. So we do see them skew negative, which again, isn't bad. The data is still important, but having some of that contextual information that we gain through other methods of engagement helps to round out that story. Because of this, we are able to pull out a number of trends, number of key findings, and then you can use those as one input of many as you go through budget deliberations. So what we're going to be looking at here is a high-level overview of some of the key findings that we pulled out. You do have a full report that was provided that you can walk through and goes deeper into a number of these areas and provides deeper analysis across different question sets, looking at some of the results comparative to last year, and then looking at them against industry trends as well. One of the things that we did early on was look at the communications piece to identify where residents were standing in terms of local comms, how informed they felt, and you can see here that people do feel informed. They feel as though there's enough transparency coming from the town that they're getting the information they need. Anytime you can overcome 55, 60% in these areas, you're doing pretty well these days. And you do see that in all of those who stated that they feel informed. And then just looking at areas where they're receiving their information, not surprising, social media tends to take #1 spot across municipalities in Alberta, Facebook often being the #1 amongst those, and then going down to the town website and other areas. We are seeing a rise throughout the industry in some of those lower rated areas right now, so it'll be interesting to see how those might change over the coming years, specifically looking at things like in-person attendance, some of the print materials that might be sent out in utility bills, mail-outs, those types of things. And so it will be interesting to watch moving forward. The other piece that we do as part of public satisfaction surveying is look at some benchmarking. So these questions are often misinterpreted or misused by organizations who look at them more as PR pieces than anything else. These are actually benchmarking questions with a particular purpose. And so you can see here the level of agreement with a number of statements just about people's quality of life as they're in the community. We look at these as benchmarking because you're able to tie changes back to shifts in, service delivery that occur year over year, changes in economy, things that people are experiencing. If you look back at 2023, for example, when you experienced the wildfires, you would typically see significant shifts in these benchmarking questions when you experience a major event of that kind. So that's why we include these, is so that you can kind of track people's sentiments around their living situation, their relationship to the community and to the town as you go through various challenges, shifts, events, and how it impacts them on a day-to-day basis and as residents. We also included a new layer this year that hasn't been included in the past, looking specifically at the customer service or customer experience side of things. This is an evolving element within local government specifically. In different parts throughout Canada, customer experience strategies are starting to become more common at the municipal level. Ontario is where we're seeing most of those. And so we're starting to dive deeper and looking at how people are interacting with the organization, why they're doing so, and where we're seeing some of the sentiments around that. So we looked at the areas in which we're seeing the most significant level of interaction. it's not surprising to see the results that are presented here. Mostly, if people are contacting the town directly, it's because they have a concern, an inquiry, or they are mad about something. But we are seeing an increase across the province and nationally in some of those more self-service related pieces where people are looking at the customer experience side of paying bills, registering for programs, those sorts of things. Now, if you look at the results locally, those are still holding a relatively low share of the response here. So again, something to keep track of in years to come. As we move into the satisfaction side, that's where we dive heavily into service level satisfaction and where people are seeing value for their tax dollars, those sorts of things. The legend did not show up here. The blue and dark blue, medium blue are somewhat satisfied and very satisfied. And so you can kind of get a reading percentage-wise of where people's opinions stand right now. This, again, is an important snapshot of today and how people are perceiving current service delivery levels. And then as you continue this process moving forward, you're able to identify trends, changes, any significant shifts from year to year, as well as over the long term. And so as you get into year 3, 4, that's where you're really starting to see service level changes or changes in programming start to impact some of these satisfaction levels, which has been valuable for municipalities where they're seeing low levels of satisfaction, find out where that is, make some adjustments, and make sure that those changes are being interpreted or perceived in the right manner or experienced in the right manner. So if you look at this, your higher levels of service satisfaction obviously are areas of fire service delivery. That's pretty normal. Waste collection is not as normal, so well done on that. Usually we see more significant complaints with municipal waste and organics collection than we do see in the town of Edson, where it rated very highly. And then where you're seeing some higher levels of dissatisfaction is snow removal, which is pretty typical these days, and historically as well, and then community enforcement as well. And we'll get to where some of those tie into qualitative pieces too. And then we looked at where people are looking for changes in service levels. Typically your most frequently selected category is maintained service levels regardless of satisfaction. And so where you do see shifts, it is worth noting. Now, if you look at where some of the satisfaction levels lie alongside the desired service level changes, you do draw some pretty clear lines where there are lower levels of satisfaction with community enforcement, for example. You have a higher level of residents or survey respondents specifically looking for an increased level of service, where you're seeing higher levels of dissatisfaction with the road maintenance, utilities, those types of pieces. You see a desire for higher service levels from public works. So there are direct lines between those. It follows pretty clearly in this year's engagement where one is leading to the other. We also look at sentiment analysis across some of those more qualitative elements to make sure that what we're seeing quantitatively is lining up with the opinions that we're seeing through the comments and written responses in our surveys, as well as through the conversations that we have through open houses and focus groups. And you can see that they are aligning pretty much one-to-one here. Now, that's an important piece because, as noted, the surveys do tend to skew negative. So having those conversations provides a deeper level of insight to where that negativity might be coming from, where the lower satisfaction levels or higher satisfaction levels are coming from, and it is pretty consistent across the board. Now, if you look here, again, lower levels or more negative sentiments in areas of enforcement, public works, and we'll speak to those again in a moment here. And then looking specifically to the budget, we tried to frame things realistically. And so when we looked at where people's tolerance levels were looking at budget 2026, we actually didn't really give an option for no budget increase or reduced tax levels. We have to be realistic about current state and looking at some of the historical pieces as well as industry trends, knowing some of the infrastructure deficit sides. We opted for a more realistic view of situations. Now, this is broken down at a deeper level within the report that will explain each category a little bit more. But the idea being, where would you like to see emphasis placed and to what degree? So the top category here prioritized infrastructure and meeting the immediate infrastructure needs over service level increases, noting that it would have a more mitigated tax increase associated with that. And then as you go, you see the changes along. So the next up would be maintain service levels and meet current infrastructure needs with a small tax increase associated. In third place was service level improvements, as well as meeting some short and medium long-term infrastructure needs for a bit more of a higher level tax increase, recognizing the long-term benefits. And in last place, in this specific set of questions, was prioritizing service level increases over infrastructure demands. And so overwhelmingly, residents are in favor of meeting infrastructure needs over looking at service level changes if you're prioritizing one over the other. We also did look at some alternatives, including increases to user fees to potentially offset some tax increases or as another source of revenue to the municipality. And overwhelmingly, people did support that as an option. That's consistent with what was found in the Budget 2025 survey that was conducted by the town as well. So some of the key trends that we're seeing is where those service level satisfactions are coming in. And as I noted, higher level on fire services, waste collection, FCSS, not unusual for FCSS to be in that grouping as well. Lower levels of satisfaction around public works, ECDEV, and community enforcement. This is where we then tie in the qualitative elements, which are delved into a lot more within that full report. In going through the focus groups, we dived really deep into some of these areas. And then looking at the responses that we received in the open houses and in written responses to the survey, some of the key areas that really popped out consistently across all groups were concerns around community safety and some of the houselessness issues that have been experienced over the past years, and where some of the problems have been dealt with downtown. There is, not just within the business community, but outside of that as well, a greater desire for investment in downtown revitalization. And then there was a surprising level of input from residents appealing to investment in infrastructure for maintenance, sustainability, and improvements, which is not as common to see. We often find that residents are not looking specifically at infrastructure and local infrastructure needs compared to service delivery and program delivery. So that was a bit unique to see in our process with Edson. And that kind of wraps up our high-level overview of our findings. Again, the full report goes more in depth, but I am happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Prue, for your presentation. And coming out to Edson here this evening, Council, do you have any questions about the budget engagement and customer satisfaction survey? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to our presenter, thank you so much for providing this analysis. I will say I really appreciate the format this year, attaching the satisfaction survey to that. It just gives a good read to council about what people's thoughts are and their service levels, not just saying an increase or decrease in the service level, but are they satisfied with it, what concerns they have. And it was interesting to see sort of the three major concerns, and certainly I'm always challenged about the enforcement piece, because our statistical analysis that we have from the RCMP is that crime is pretty low in Edson, right? And then we have to take that as a council. So how do we relay that, or are we missing a piece within the public about those crime elements? So I think that's really important. I did think the number that we had, like 271, was a good number, and as you say, that's a good number to sort of gauge, gauge the report with. I was a little disappointed with the 22 participants in our open house, and this is something that we have talked about at this council table with our administration about when we have open houses, and this is more to now administration, is that, even telling our third parties when they do these things, when they pop up engagement sessions, getting people to go somewhere for that engagement session is difficult. I always encourage to say, where are they already? Right around that time, yes, I know there were Oiler games on certain nights. I understand that, but around that time there was Eddie's Big Run. There was, I know it's a different format, but there was Canada Day. There's other events that go on in our community that people are already at, and then we can get far more engagement that way. And I think people appreciate that you kind of go to the place where they are. So no question, those are just my comments in terms of, again, future engagement surveys, good analysis to take forward into our budget, a budget workshop that we're going to have in another month. So thank you.
Thank you. Council, any further questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Through the mayor to council and those in the gallery and administration, and thank you to Ben for the lovely report. And all of your help with the fires as well. I'll just take that out there, throw that out there. This was, I thought, very well done. I like the qualitative and quantitative approaches, and also reaching out to the different stakeholders. It was very robust, and I feel that absolutely this provides a lot of guidance for council going into the 2026 budget, as well as anybody running for council as well, to understand that this document needs to be read very, very thoroughly. And also, I suspect it will likely shape the strategic plan for the next 4 years as well. So thank you for all the work on that.
Thank you. Council, any further comments or questions? I really appreciated the report. I think it gives us some good insight. It was noted in the report that there may be some confusion of what the municipality is responsible for infrastructure and the province. I've been experiencing that recently as well when I have conversations with people, particularly with road infrastructure, is, what road are you concerned about? And they always say the highway. Well, that's not a municipal responsibility. But we are going to see progress on that. So hopefully by the time you do this next time, we're actually going to see some construction happening there and that sort of thing. I do think that this gives us a really good baseline moving forward to understand where, like you mentioned in your presentation, where the trends are, because we haven't done this before. And I think that you mentioned in your report as well, business customer satisfaction surveys are the #1 priority for them for any type of sale that they do. So we are in a little bit of different business here, but still really important to provide that information. Community enforcement, I'm not surprised. For years, we were left with one bylaw officer, and only very recently we have increased in that department. Actually, I think we've tripled resources in that, and we're probably still a little short. So it'll be interesting next year to see where those trend lines are as well. So once again, thank you for your presentation, and look forward to seeing what future results there are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Safe travels. With that, I will take a motion to accept the report for information, please. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move the council accept the 2026 budget engagement report as information.
Thank you. Council, any debate on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. Up next, speaking of community enforcement, Mr. Eric Christensen, our Enforcement Services Manager, who has been busy on the highway today, despite the potholes, pulling people over. So, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to present the RCMP multi-year 2026 to 2031 financial plan. It's required as part of the municipal, It is a requirement as part of the municipal police service agreement that we present this. It sits in budgeting, resource allocation, and long-term planning, and presented in common format and addresses overarching Alberta RCMP initiatives and local priorities. It anticipates expenses, including operations, personnel, and infrastructure needs by anticipating future demands, includes a 5-year cost projections, and is updated annually. This is prepared by the RCMP in consultation with the Town of Edson pursuant to Article 17.1 of the Municipal Policing Service Agreement. Effective management of expenses, including operations, personnel, and infrastructure needed for future demands. When it says execution, it's just providing the authority of the mayor to sign off on the plan as an approval in principle. Signing the plan does not commit to any future financial or operational requests. All financial approvals for policing are part of the town of annual budgeting process. And with that, our recommendation is that council authorize the execution of the attached Edson RCMP multi-year financial plan, April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2031. With that, I open up the floor to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. We'll open the floor to questions. Council, any questions for Mr. Christensen on the multi-year financial plan? As Mr. Christensen mentioned, these are fluid documents. Often there's changes each year, and that's a part of our budgeting process. I do know that we did meet with the RCMP about 2 years ago, a year and a half, and there have been some adjustments based on those conversations in terms of the expense hits that the municipalities were facing, that they tried to spread some of those costs out a little further out. So with that, I will take a motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
I would move that council authorize execution of the Edson RCMP multi-year financial plan, April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2031.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Up next, Santa Claus Parade funding request. Ms. McDonald of Community Development, our Community Development Supervisor. Come on up.
There we go. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm Sarah McDonald, the Community Development Supervisor, and here to present about the Santa Claus Parade funding request. So just a little bit of background. The Santa Claus Parade is a beloved annual event in Edson, and it brings in thousands of residents each year. And then historically, it's been organized by the Edson and District Chamber of Commerce. And in 2024, the Edson Friendship Center took the lead with town support. So current challenges is Edson Friendship Center has indicated that they are unable to continue organizing future parades, and a new lead organization is needed for 2025. Some of the barriers that we've identified with just speaking with different community groups and nonprofits is insurance complexities, limited volunteer capacity, which we see quite often, and then opportunities is for nonprofits is some fundraising potential, community impact and visibility, pride in organizing a community event, and some new collaborative relationships with the town. Our proposal is to seek a nonprofit community partner to lead the organization of the Santa Claus Parade, and the town will provide financial and logistical support. So some of the responsibilities of this could look like from the lead organization, setting the theme, forming a planning committee, managing budgets and special event permit application process, coordinating logistics, volunteers, awards, and Santa Claus, promoting the event and ensuring safety. So that's like barricades, security for all of the intersections, everything like that. And then the town's role would be to provide funding, assist with permit application, ensure adequate insurance coverage, supply barricades, support promotion of the event, and offer guidance and industry engagement. Our recommendation is that administration recommends allocating $5,000 from the Council General Reserve to support a nonprofit organization in leading the 2025 Santa Claus Parade. And I just kind of broke down why the $5,000, just to kind of give you a sample budget. $1,500 could go to something like safety and security honorariums to another community group in hiring that. $1,000 for awards and prizes for people to enter into, $1,000 for administration and promotion of it. So that could be advertising, printing, registering materials, stuff like that. And then about $1,500 for the organizational support. So just general funding to assist that group in leading and planning the execution. And thank you for your attention. Any questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. McDonald. Council, we'll open the floor to questions. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Ms. McDonald, thank you for bringing this forward. And also I do want to thank for years the Chamber of Commerce and last year the Edson Friendship Center for providing the parade. This parade's been around since before I moved to Edson over 20 years ago. It's older than the Skate with Santa and older than Light Up. It's a tradition in our community. So where I go with this is that I do want to ensure that we continue to have one. That's the important thing. It's something that will bring a community together, and I think that's important. Side note, I've actually never seen the Santa Claus Parade because every year that it's on, there's a play that runs that week, and I am usually at that play. I hear those plays are pretty good, but anyway. So I guess my question is to you from perspective of community development. Mm-hmm. Obviously, CD runs from Canada Day to Teddy Bear Picnic. It helps with Renaissance Fair. So the Light Up celebration and Skate with Santa. So this is basically in your wheelhouse. So I'll ask the question why community development doesn't want to take sort of this on without going to a third-party nonprofit group. Is there a particular reason that you don't want to take that on?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Taylor. So I think basically we want an opportunity for an organization to bring in extra funding. We see it as a great opportunity where they could maybe fundraise, get their name out there, and just build that community support. That's part of our job, is not to take on all of the roles, but it is to build the community and support them through that process. So we are still there in the background supporting them with applications, permitting, that kind of stuff. But we think it's important that these community groups can get out there, build our community, and because that's like volunteering is very important in our community. So it's kind of just we really want to just prop up the community groups that we do have.
Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Ms. McDonald. I agree with Councillor Taylor on the, it's been around as long as I can remember. It's the chamber, the origin of it, because you said the Light Up downtown tied in with the parade, and the parade always ended up on Main Street, and the idea was to bring people downtown for our local businesses. The routes changed, the parades changed, the chamber realized it, and hats off to them, they ran it for decades, probably since the 70s, maybe even the 60s. I don't know how long they did it, but they did it forever. They never made any money. It was an expense, and that's why they've hence dropped it. I'm struggle a little bit with how a not-for-profit's going to take this on and have a fundraising opportunity. The only fundraiser they're going to achieve is the budget that we're putting towards it, so they're essentially fundraising off of the municipality. I know the chamber used to get the awards donated. There was local businesses always donate each prize and each award. And then we've now added cumbersome way, you got to get a permit, and we want you to have insurance, we want you to have this, and this is why everybody's like, whoa, I'm out. And that's a challenge. So we've added levels of bureaucracy as a municipality, and now we want somebody to take it on as a fundraiser, and it's not a fundraiser. It's a great community event, and it's probably going to end, in all honesty, it's probably going to land in your guys' department's lap, because you'll be hard-pressed. Volunteerism's not on the way up, and I think a lot of our volunteer groups would be challenged to have the group together to do it. So I'm kind of echoing, following Councillor Taylor on that one is, I see that the only way, I personally believe the only way this is going to survive moving forward is if the municipality takes it over. As we've created red tape and bureaucracy around this, and Friendship Center did it 1 year, and they're like, hey, we're out. So, and then they're going to be setting every year trying to find someone to take it on and do it. So I guess I'm challenged by it, and I'm challenged by the size of the budget. Unless we know that it's going to cost, if it's going to cost somebody $2,500 to have insurance for a parade, okay, now I see a real number. To me, that's something I can get behind if we need to insure it for a group that would be willing to take it on. But all the other costs are kind of, it seems like a lot of budget for an event where everybody does it for free. So I don't know. I really struggle with the the portion of it where we say that there is an opportunity for fundraising, because it's never been that. I don't think it could ever be that. So it's probably going to end up in your guys' lap. So I think maybe as a department, we should prepare for that.
Yeah.
Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the mayor to Ms. McDonald. Have you had any conversations with any nonprofit groups that may be interested in this if the motion was approved tonight?
We've approached a few that were not interested, and what our plan was to put a proposal out to the groups and to get some, just to see what groups might be interested if they did have a financial backing.
Okay, thank you.
Acting CEO Hawken, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Another piece to this as well is our capacity, right? So adding another event for community development to build is something we wanted to flag. That was just another reason that I wanted to flag for council on why this also has been done by a third party and not by administration.
Thank you. Councillor Pasichny.
Thank you for that, Acting CEO Hawken. We just added capacity in that department. It was a budget item, and we did add capacity there, so that we've added staff for these kind of things.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council and administration, Councillor Petition had brought up about the fundraising to a nonprofit group. We kind of already do that with certainly our campgrounds with Rotary and the Lions Club. They use this as massive as fundraising to give back to our community. They do that already, and again, I would certainly hate to lose this. I don't want to be the council that has to be here at the end of November, early December, and tell the community that we don't have it after it's been a really tradition. So I look at this motion. Maybe the numbers need to be adjusted more. Maybe 5,000 is too much. I will say the capacity that we have, to Councillor Petitiony's point, they are still heavily assisting with as you saw within the package, the responsibilities that will fall within the CD department. And if a nonprofit group can, and this is, to my understanding, this is for this year. Yes. Like we haven't made any commitments for future years. We could put this out there to the groups and find no one, and then unfortunately we might end up losing this, or CD might have to take this on in a way. I would like to see a volunteer group, and I think there might be some that say, hey, we can make this work. We see this as a valuable, perhaps a fundraising opportunity that we can bring the community together, and from what I've heard, it does. And I would certainly hate to lose it. So,
Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to council and to Councillor Taylor, I would agree. I don't want to see it gone. I hope I didn't come across that way that I want to see this parade gone, because that's definitely not my intent. If we are looking, as we do with other not-for-profits, where we've supported the Lions Club and we've supported lots of other groups in this community, then we put a price tag on it, right? We do the research. Insurance is going to cost us $1,500. Okay, check. Town of Edson has to cover that. Permitting is done by the town. We're going to have a parade. Who's going to run it and supply us volunteers? It's worth X amount of dollars for you. And that's maybe how it should be presented, not, 1,000 here, 2,000, and a lot of work. And I'm not here to pick on you on it. And I'm definitely not, my intent is not to beat you down on it. If we're looking to pay somebody to take the horns and run with it, the fundraising opportunity is only coming from the municipality. So if council's on board to say we're going to allocate $5,000 to an organization, and they can run it with their budget, with their insurance, and do all that work, and they can do it for $2,000 and they pocket $3,000 and they made some money for their group, then that needs to be clarified that that's what we're doing, right? Like that's kind of where I'm coming from on this. Like I 100% support it. And it is a great thing, and our community gets behind it. And it's one of those instances in the community where our local people get together and put their pride on their shoulders, and they dress up their floats. So I just think that we need to maybe the approach needs to be looked at differently. If it is a fundraiser opportunity, then here's as much money as you get as a budget. Which not-for-profit wants to take that on, unknowing that these may be your costs, and go from there. They have the opportunity to say, yeah, we get $1,000 for awards, but we're going to go out and get donors for that. And then they put the $1,000 in their pocket. And then that addresses a capacity issue for the event when they'll organize somebody to do the grand marshal, and they'll organize somebody else to run the parade thing, and they'll organize the team of judges and all that other kind of thing that, happens. So, I just kind of wanted to address that part of it. Like if we're calling it, we're the funder, then let's call it that. Not, I don't know if I'm being clear on that or not.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify, so we'd still be covering the insurance, correct, Ms. McDonald? So that's separate than the $5,000. So, and I think what you're alluding to, you just provided kind of a suggestion of how the funds could be utilized, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's just a sample. They could use it
Yeah.
in any way they see fit, or may have to make those adjustments to do so.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this for a long time because I think it would be an absolute travesty for us to lose the Santa Claus parade. When I moved to town, everybody talked about the Santa Claus parade, and I never went. I'm like, who's going to go stand out in the middle of winter at -40 to watch people and all dressed up in the cold? And I finally went one year, and wow, it was like one of the best events I've ever been to. And I've subsequently went to many and participated in many and been on the floats, and it does bring people together. And so to lose it would be, I think, really, really difficult for our community, seeing all the kids. But the reality of the situation as well is, the Chamber's done this for many, many years, and the Chamber has had some struggles with people and trying to find volunteers. My hope, and I don't know if this would be appropriate or not, is to go to them first, since they were doing it for so many years, to say, hey, here's an opportunity for you to make $5,000 if you would like to re-engage in that process. I don't know if they would be interested or not. And then go to the Friendship Center, see if they want to, and then open it up to everybody else. The challenge that I do have, and it has been spoken to a little bit here, and it's more of a bigger conversation, is the insurance requirements are going to start killing a lot of our organizations and our events in this community. It was supposed to be an easy process, and of course, insurance companies never make it easy. So I think that's something that we do have to relook at. And I also do think, like volunteerism, our organizations are struggling just to do their day-to-day mandates. So for them to take this on, I think is going to be a real struggle, even with $5,000. And a lot of our volunteers are volunteering across multiple organizations. They are completely burnt out, and many of them are stepping back because they're tired, they're done, and they're tired of the criticism from members of the public who don't volunteer, that like to criticize things. With this particular event, one of the biggest challenges is people not respecting barricades, and the amount of barricades and the number of intersections that have to be closed. So that's another challenge. You put on these events and people are driving through barricades, and I always remember one year, just a couple years ago, there was 3 or 4 burly guys like me sitting there, and a guy just goes through and we're yelling at him, and he drives through right ahead of the parade route. So that's why insurance is so expensive for these things, because it is a very big liable issue. And then I also question, like, where do we put the line as to what we're funding and what we're not funding? What's the next event that we take on? What's the next thing that we're going to be funding? We see this every year, more and more being dropped onto the laps of the municipality. I, for one, don't want to see the Santa Claus parade end, and I don't think it's going to continue unless we do provide this support. But at some point, we as a council, or the future council, is going to have to start to make a decision on where that line ends, because we can't continue to take on every single project, every single service, and how do we better support increasing volunteerism in our community and continuing to support those nonprofits. That's my rant. I'll go on to Councillor Taylor, and I'll probably be supporting this motion here tonight.
Well, thank you, Mayor Zare, and through the mayor. At the end of the day, when we look at $5,000 of the whole grand scheme of things, we do spend, I think it's somewhere in the range of about $50,000 on Canada Day, somewhere in that range, right? We spent an additional $18,000 to provide fireworks at the light up. So these are things that we provide for community involvement and to bring our community together, and that's important. And again, this is just for this year, right? That we support this group based on the time, and I know the CD has gone out to different organizations. You've been working with or trying to find a solution prior to coming here tonight.
Yes.
This is kind of, I don't want to call it a last resort, but it is right now, and it is late August, right? By the time you find that organization, it's going to be September, and now the clock is ticking to get this thing organized. So I say we certainly support this motion for this year to find that organization willing to take this on. And many of these organizations, and I mentioned too, like the Lions and the Rotary Club, when they make money, it goes right back into the community, whether it's through scholarships or improving our trail system or many other different ways to give back to our community. So so it's just going to circle right back in. So I support that. And then after that sort of parade is done, we revisit it. Was this worthwhile? Is there other sort of private ventures that perhaps we can look at, or maybe there are businesses that can maybe take this on to bring the community together? I don't know. So I'm going to support the motion. And then, in the aftermath of the parade, again, we look at how well things went and sort of a plan for the future.
All right, any further comments or questions before we take a motion? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Through the mayor to Ms. McDonald here. I'm the same boat. I don't want to see it go away. And I remember the parade has changed routes probably about 3 times in that day. And when we changed it one year, or a couple of years, it went down to the Griffiths Park.
Yes.
And we as an organization, not saying council, but I was on some other groups there, we put on, we had people come in, companies come in, supplied hot dogs, hot chocolate, donuts and everything else. And we went around and talked to McDonald's and Tim Hortons, and they supplied all this juice like that. When the parade ended there, we had 200, 300, 400 people, and their kids were standing around getting everything they could, and they really liked it. The parade stopped there. The people loved it. But we really had trouble trying to get people to come out and help us. We would start probably about 10 o'clock in the morning setting up, and we were there till 11 o'clock at night taking stuff down. And sometimes it was 20, 25 below out, and it was brutal. You had really no place you can go to warm up in that. And by the time we took stuff down, and our fire department would come down and put a great big ring out there, and we'd have a great big bonfire. Everybody loved it, but then volunteer dropped off. And then other groups took it, changed parade route, it went shorter. And now I'm out and about a lot of places. I can honestly say that when I've talked to different organizations, if they would like to take it over, all I've heard was it's too much of a headache. It's going to cost them. Same as Councilor Pishy said, they don't make any money out of it. They may end up spending money out of their own pocket, what they don't want to do. So I don't want to see it go away, but I think the future is going to probably come back to you guys and that, and then we have to make a decision, or the future council will make a decision how they want to do it, what they want to do with it, and if it becomes a budgeted item or something, I don't know, but I think it's going to be tough.
Councillor Pisichny?
Yeah, through the mayor to administration, maybe any clarification. So, and maybe because this is a pretty vague, basically we're allocating 5,000. Doesn't say how we're going to spend it. Doesn't say, like, when I read through it, it's like, is the intent, and maybe we could reword the motion, that we are going to provide an organization $5,000 to do this. Because it doesn't really read that. It says we're going to allocate money to the side for somebody to take it on, and we may spend it this way. So is this a $5,000, okay, someone's going to do it, and here's what we're allocating? Because I do support it. I don't want it to fail. And I think the only way it's going to happen is if we do something about it. But I need to know, okay, so like, does a group go, oh, well, the town has $5,000 allocated, but we're only going to give you $2,000? Like, that's kind of, I don't have the clarification on this. The motion just says allocation and where the money's coming from, which we have to have on there to support the recruitment and engagement. So it doesn't say we're going to take $5,000 and say, hey, organization, here's $5,000, run with it. So I think before I can support this motion, I would need clarity on how we're allocating that money. If this is a direct allocation to a not-for-profit, I have to have some clarity before I can support it. Repeat myself, I am not against this. I need clarity.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. I read that completely different than you, but I'll hand things over to Ms. McDonald to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand your confusion, and it would be more like a grant. So we would give $5,000 to an organization to support this. Like, it's more similar to like a grant, where they would just get the money and then they can use the cost for whatever purposes they need for that specific program. Similar to like our grant program.
So just to further clarify that, so we're not dictating how they use that $5,000. They want to take that $5,000, keep it to themselves, fine. If they want to use X amount to give to another organization, do the security, they can do that. If they want to go find sponsors, it's basically, here's $5,000 to fundraise for your organization. Take money out of that to help fund this event, and then whatever's left over is yours.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chachka.
Through the chair to you, Ms. McDonald. So is the reason we're not calling it a grant because that would require paperwork follow-up after the event and other red tape, I guess?
Yeah, there'd probably be a little bit more red tape. It would be like the grant process. They'd have to wait through that granting process to apply and a little bit more formal. We are more so seeking someone to represent this event for us.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Positioning.
See, now this gets more complex through the mayor to administration. So I think I'm going to back up to what the mayor said, is that I think the two organizations that should be approached would be the Chamber and then the Friendship Center for doing it last year. So the Chamber did it forever. Let's talk to them first, and then maybe open it up for proposals. And the real reason I put my microphone on was I wanted to know, do they get paid before or after it's over? Because what if they take the grant and then, it didn't happen and it fails and now they got the money? So is there like allocations, you get an advancement and you get a final payment? Like, I think this is, you're dealing with taxpayers' money here, and there's only one ratepayer, and that's the taxpayer. And so I just want to make sure that we have this clarity, and I don't want to say, okay, we got the grant and now I'm going to call up my not-for-profit friend and say, hey, I got you the money and I don't have any rules. Here's your cash. And then throw us a parade. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm struggling with this. I'm just struggling with the
I think you're delving a little bit into administrative matters to figure those things out, right?
But we have to make a decision on $5,000, right? So what am I making a decision on? We're making an allocation. It's an election year, and I don't want people coming back to me and saying, oh, nice job on the allocation. So.
Go ahead, Ms. McDonald.
I do not have a precise answer for you if it would be before or after. I would assume before, so that they can prepay for awards and any funding that they may need prior to. They usually have expenses prior to the parade, so that would be my final assumption, but I would have to speak to my senior leadership for guidance for sure on that.
Councillor Chachka.
Two comments. The first one, through the chair to Miss McDonald. I just have to comment that you're probably quite happy that we did not question every number with the 5 and then all those zeros that you took away in the financial statements a few minutes ago. My second comment is I do agree with the process that the mayor and Councillor Position have mentioned regarding offering it to the Chamber first, then the Friendship Center, give them a few days or whatever they may require to make that quick decision, and then offer it to other groups after that. So those are my comments. I would hope that if we're offering this to a community group that has been in our community for a while, that they don't just take the money and run, and that they actually produce a parade. So those I will be in support of this, although I do understand the concerns that have been brought forward. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to, at council and to Ms. McDonald, I also support going to the Chamber and then at the Friendship Center first. I agree. This is a lot of conversation. Again, $5,000 when we, again, spend a lot more on other events to bring our community together. I think this is pretty small potatoes. I think at the end, it's good to go through the process. I hear that, but we have many nonprofit groups, and community development knows that not the many nonprofit groups that we can work with and have worked with in the past that can produce like great events, with the right kind of funding. So. Oh, and the reason why people probably go through those barricades, Mayor Zahara, is because they're probably on the way to that play I talked about. Then they just need to get there on time. So I want.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Yes, and I would suggest too that if you take the money and you run with it, you won't be getting any town funds in the future. So, I don't see that being as a major concern, but I think it's something that needs to be noted, and maybe set it up in a way that we ensure that we're protected as well. So with that, council, I'll take whatever motion you guys want to make on the floor here? Hello? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move that council approve the allocation of $5,000 from the council general reserve to support the recruitment and engagement of a nonprofit organization to plan and organize the 2025 Santa Claus Parade.
Councillor Pisichny, any further comments or questions? Anybody else? Any questions, comments? Once again, I hope that the event continues on. I think it's really important for the community. With that, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. McDonald, the other Ms. McDonald, for your presentation. I know your work on this. Next up, Mr. Hawking, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have flagged for the municipal policing multi-service financial plan motion. We have the year 2025. It needs to be 2026. So we need to just, our amazing legislative officer back there is going to walk us through rescinding that motion and making a new one, just changing the year. Apologies on that.
All right. So we'll hand things over to Ms. Scott.
Mr. Mayor, Council,
Can you turn your microphone on over there?
Mr. Mayor, Council, in this circumstance, because we have not adjourned the meeting, we have an option to reconsider the motion. So we can bring it back to the table, read the motion as corrected, still allows for council to have a debate if needed, and then council can revote on the motion. Okay. Motion to reconsider.
All right, so can somebody please make a motion to reconsider the authorization of the RCMP multi-year financial plan? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I would move that we reconsider the motion that I made.
All right. Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried. And what will be the new motion, Ms. Scott? That's correct. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yes, I will read the motion correctly this time. That we move that council authorize the execution of the Edson RCMP multi-year financial plan from April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2031.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Thank you to whoever caught that. I appreciate that. With that, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Now we're back on track. Perfect. Thank you. We'll hand things over to Ms. Scott again for Rail Safety Week proclamation.
Well, hello, Mayor and Council. I get a good one for my first time here. So, Rail Safety Week is not a stranger to the town of Edson or this council. Annually, every September, CN and their partners at Operation Lifesaver put an emphasis on rail safety, particularly the prevention of what they call avoidable fatalities and avoidable incidents. During the week, they stress the importance of rail safety, risks of trespassing, and not obeying signs and signals at rail crossings. The Rail Safety Week proclamation still meets the requirements within the Town of Edson's proclamation policy. And in the event that council chooses to proclaim Rail Safety Week in September, administration will publish communications that CN shares throughout the week on rail safety for the community to enhance safety across the community. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll take a motion, please. Councillor Taylor.
I move the council proclaim September 15th to 21st, 2025 as Rail Safety Week in the town of Edson.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, council committee reports. We are going back to July the 16th. Who would like to start first? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. I've got some things to report. On July 16th, with the Attraction and Retention Committee, I had a meeting with the Edson Medical Center manager. On July 19th, I attended the grand opening for the Yellowhead Agricultural Society and their new building that we provided some funding. On July 19th, I attended the grand opening at Reflections. On July 24th, with the Community Futures West Yellowhead, we had a board meeting. It was just a quick Zoom meeting to address one item over the summer when we don't regularly have a board meeting. On July 25th, for the Attraction and Retention Committee, I met some of the members at the hospital to discuss a project. And on July 31st, for Community Futures West Yellowhead, I had an investment review committee meeting via Zoom. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Bevan.
July 16th at a Community Futures West Yellowwood meeting via Zoom, and it didn't last long, but it was very good. So that's the report.
Thank you very much. And we will go to Councillor Moore.
I also attended the opening of Reflections on July 19th, and that's it.
All right, thank you very much. For myself and the deputy mayor toured our new MP in the community on July 16th. I'm surprised you forgot about that. And then called in a fire call to Weyerhaeuser with our CAO. Really good tour with the MP, explaining the priorities for the town of Edson and showcasing some of the projects that we have underway. On July the 19th, attended the Ag Society opening, just a wonderful facility, and those volunteers need to be commended for their hard work on that. A great partnership between the Ag Society, the town, the county, and the province of Alberta. And then on the 22nd, myself and CO Beveridge met with the Forest Products Association president, along with the senior leadership team at Weyerhaeuser. Really great conversations regarding fire mitigation around the town of Edson and partnering on the fire mitigation strategy that was presented here. They've offered some resources to the town in terms of foresters and people that work in the industry to help us with that. Talked about the tariffs and the impacts. With that, we are fairly well protected at the Weyerhaeuser mill, but still there's certainly issues with that. And then housing, talking about housing and the cost of housing and some of the challenges that we see with that and how we can work together to address those things. And of course, also Weyerhaeuser, a big supporter of our YCE multiplex as well, and looking forward to continuing to partner with them. It was a great meeting, and it was great to talk about forestry, such an important industry in our community. With that, we have no information items, no notices of motion, a motion to go into a closed meeting session. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that the meeting move into a closed session pursuant to Access to Information Act, Section 28, Local Public Body Confidences.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. All right, thank you. We'll return to open session at 9:53. So we do have a motion coming out of the closed meeting session to direct administration to proceed with the land matter as discussed in closed. Who would like to make that motion? Councillor Bevan.
I'll make that motion as we come out of the session.
The motion is to direct administration to proceed with the land matter as discussed in closed session. All right, the motion is on the screen there. That was moved by Councillor Bevan. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. This meeting is now adjourned.